Hello and welcome to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Glad that you could join us for another segment. We're going to be speaking with Mr. Gregory Wagner in this segment, CEO of RYAH Group Incorporated. It's a publicly listed big data company, and he's joining us here to talk about the significance of data in the cannabis industry. Welcome to Health Professional Radio, Gregory Wagner. Thanks for joining us here.
Thank you, Neil. Thanks for having me.
CEO of RYAH Group Incorporated. Give us a bit of your professional background briefly and talk about what led you to lead RYAH Group.
Sure, absolutely. I'm a former financial services executive. I spent 2 decades on Wall Street running front office businesses in both the United States and in the United Kingdom. I have an economics degree, an MBA in finance, and I am certified in innovation and strategy from Harvard University. I was recruited in 2019 to lead RYAH Group as it was moving toward a listing on a publicly listed exchange. We're starting with the CSE, the Canadian Securities Exchange. And I was also hired to help chaperone the company through the launch of its IoT products and platform, which is the RYAH brand.
So what type of impact, obviously a huge impact, has this COVID-19 pandemic had on your operations and the digital health industry as a whole?
I'm not going to not lie, Neil. It was a very difficult, 15 months for everybody, and certainly we were not excluded from that. Mm-hmm. The company has been around for about 7 years, but we really only found our niche during the crisis. Believe it or not, we realized that digital health, remote telehealth, and remote dosing solutions were not going anywhere. And this is a new paradigm that had been set thanks to, or for lack of a better term, as a result of the COVID crisis. And we were able to really pivot ourselves from sort of a strain recommendation engine to what I would call sort of this pioneering IoT device and digital care platform. And what we do really is we're here to capture remote data points to better enable doctors and clinics to create highly personalized and highly customized dosing regimens in plant-based medicine.
In the plant-based medicine space, obviously the lead would be cannabis. Would that not be a correct statement?
That's correct. And to be perfectly honest with you, our clients do use our products for cannabis. Now, remember, we do not touch any medicine. Mm-hmm. We provide devices and data analytics. And we partner with licensed medical handlers who can handle medicine, fill our cartridges with medicine, and distribute to their patient network. However, I do say plant-based medicine because we are, frankly, not married to cannabis. Mm-hmm. Of course, it's a popular use for therapeutic use, especially for our smart inhaler, but we're becoming agnostic, Neil, to the type of delivery mechanism, whether it's inhalation or transdermal, topical, or tincture. Mm-hmm. And we're becoming agnostic to the type of medicine. So nutraceuticals, plant-based medicine, and other types of formulations we're experimenting with to really become truly a med tech story.
Now, I understand that you said you're not married to cannabis, but have you seen that there's been an increase in demand for plant-based medicines or an increased adoption of dose control technology overall?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's no secret that, and the reason why I'm here, frankly, there's more Americans died last year over the last 14 months from overdosing from complex opioid drugs than all the Americans that died in the Vietnam War combined. So we have a cultural shift here in North America, and globally, if you look at Western Europe, they're way ahead of us already in terms of administration of medical cannabis. We also have a regulatory adoption moving toward that same cultural adoption. You see the change in administration that has been seems to be more conducive and receptive to plant-based medicine therapies over opioids. However, the challenge is really to get doctors to have that comfort level to administer, cannabis on a wide scale as a supplement or replacement for opioids, and we're not quite there yet. And that's why we do believe that, dose control, dose measurement, data analytics associated with patient feedback, all cross-referenced with the entire lab results of the strain, is a critical component for what I call solving the data gap. There is a massive, massive data gap here. People do not know what is going inside their bodies. This is a very complicated plant that is evolving dramatically all of the time. frankly, Neil, it's probably twice as strong as it was 20 years ago, and it's being crossbred in a number of different ways, and it does affect all sorts of demographics differently. So really to understand how this plant affects different patients at different temperatures, at different dosing, is going to be the key for a wider adoption in the doctor and clinical framework.
Well, tell me a little bit about your company's suite of Internet of Things or IoT devices and the data collection capability as well. How does it actually work compared to similar things that are out there?
That's a good question. And frankly, there aren't that many similar things out there. Okay. We have some very good partners and what we call competitors in the device space. There are very good European-based companies that have strong IP in the medical device place. And let me make it clear, this is a medical device story, not a recreational story. And then we also have a good set of peers or competitors in the data analytics space. But to be perfectly honest with you, Neil, there is nobody that does both like that, like we do. We have captive patient dosing data, and we provide real-time data analytics to doctors and clinics who prescribe or recommend cannabis. We use QR code technology that downloads the entire lab results of the strain to do two things. Number one, prevent illicit product from ever going inside our devices. Without a QR code, the mobile applications will not turn on the device. So it's truly IoT. And number two, the doctors can actually look at all sorts of unusual and rare data analytics, such as what was the difference between the dosing date and the harvest date of the plant? Did it affect that demographic differently? And when you start to unpack all of that data, doctors can make much more clear, customized dosing regimens, and hopefully regulators can make more informed regulatory decisions around the adoption of plant-based medicine worldwide.
You recently announced the initial shipment of the RYAH Smart Dry Herb Inhaler in a pilot study. Can you talk about this study briefly? And I do believe it's going to be conducted in the UK?
That's correct. So right out of the gate, when I first came to the company toward the end of 2019, when one of our products went commercial, we were selected to be part of the world's largest clinical trial, as far as we know, the world's largest clinical trial, a clinical study ever to be conducted in cannabis. It's at least 50,000 patients large, and it is out of the UK. You're correct, Neil. And the goal is to study the efficacy of chronic pain on a single strain of cannabis. We were selected because we were able to create a customized, dedicated mobile application just for this trial on the App Store and Google Play. So when those patients log into that application, the dosing is automatically locked, the temperature is automatically locked, and the customized questionnaires for the trial are embedded inside the application. We've designed a closed-loop ecosystem so that a number of variables are materially mitigated in terms of creating any sort of data gaps. Let me give you an example. If a patient is not doing well for this trial, which is starting quite soon, let's say they gave it 2 out of 10 on a couple of their feedback sessions on how they feel after a dose, that is sent to the clinic's EHR system immediately through an API, and that clinic can take that patient off the trial immediately so that the patient is not at risk. Mm-hmm. That is a critical component for this trial to be approved by the MHRA, and we're looking to replicate trials and studies like that all around the world. So, again, this is a groundbreaking study, and we are very proud to be a part of that.
Well, Gregory, give us a website where our listeners can learn a lot more about your company and about the technology that you're developing there.
Sure. You could look at all of our IoT devices, all of our news on www.ryahgroup.com. Everything is there. It's basically a living pitch deck. And, of course, you can always contact us at info@ryah.com.
And that's RYAH Group.com. All one word.
Correct.
Great. Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you this morning. Thanks so much, and hopefully we'll get an opportunity to sit down and have another conversation.
Thank you so much for your time.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard, in conversation with Mr. Gregory Wagner, CEO of RYAH Group Incorporated. Audio copies of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, listen in, download at SoundCloud, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com, Health Professional Radio.